Have you ever wondered how you find the next Amazon or Google before they become household names? In fact, before they even list on a stock market, and obviously long before the general public at large get to know about them. Well, I discovered how to do this in a very simple way almost 3 years ago, and this video explains how I did it. So here's a question. How would you like to find the next mega company, the next Amazon, Google, or Uber, or something quite incredible that comes along and you happen to acquire shares on it? And how about if you could do that without actually having to put in any personal research, effort, and so on? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you about today. Why this video and why now? That is the question. Well, a few days back, I watched the end of July 2022 report, or if you prefer, update of one of my long-standing passive investments. And just quickly, let me remind you, this is not investment advice, financial advice, and so on. This is me sharing my experience with you of a club called VC Crowd. I want to tell you how long I've been involved, what they do, and so on, to see if you like the idea of getting involved yourself. So that's what this video is about. That update, the July 22 update, prompted me to think about VC Crowd again, and I realized I hadn't actually reviewed it, given any information on VC Crowd for a while. I've been preoccupied with other things, mostly, as you probably know, crypto related. VC Crowd isn't at all crypto related. So now's a good time to tell you what I think is happening with VC Crowd, where this is going, and so on. So in this video, I'm going to explain what VC Crowd do, how they do it, what our involvement is as VC Crowd members, and why this ranks as definitely one of the most consistent opportunities that I personally got involved in. Now, I'm approaching my 4th anniversary of membership, and all the way through that period, I've been paying a monthly subscription, and I have not missed one subscription, and I've never been tempted to miss any subscriptions, even though it's quite possible with VC Crowd, if you want to skip contributions, not pay subscriptions for months on end if you want, and then pick it up again and move on and carry on from where you were. Now, there are very good reasons to do that. One, of course, is that you're finding it a bit of a squeeze, so you stop for a while. But another good reason for doing that is so that you can maybe time your subscriptions to coincide with special deals they're doing. Perhaps they're giving allocations of a particular share away in the coming month, and you just want to get more of that action. There are many good reasons for letting your subscription go for a while. Point is, I've never done that. I've always been comfortable with what they've been doing because I have seen a slow and gradual profit. Now, there are no guarantees that you'll profit with this venture any more than there are with anything which is not belt and braces in the bank, completely and utterly safe and secure. They can, even though they're good at this and they get better at it over time, they can, of course, pick companies occasionally that just go wrong. We had an example, although they saved it in a very, very brilliant piece of work, but we had a company called RiderCam who was set to set the world on fire. They were introducing a new sort of technology that was being picked up by theme parks all around the world, and this was becoming one of the really top companies, I think, in the portfolio. And then wham, COVID hit, and well, the rest is history. But even then, they managed to save that company through their contacts, set them up with somebody else that came in and invested in them. And now we're still going to get a return on those RiderCam shares. So even the downside is kind of protected in a way, purely based on their know-how, their contacts in the industry, and so on. Now, the fact that I haven't once been tempted to drop or stop my subscription should speak volumes to how comfortable I feel about it. So let me move on and tell you a little bit more. What exactly is VC Crowd? Well, it's kind of a hybrid between venture capital and crowdfunding, hence the name, VC Crowd. But the simplest way to look at it is as a subscription-based club that gives its members early access to equity ownership in a diverse portfolio of what I call special private companies. Now, they're special because, in my opinion, the experts that select for us have an incredibly well-trained eye for picking out companies that are perhaps better than average where it comes to their potential for future growth. Like I said, they can't always get it right, but they get it right a lot. And in fact, we are holding companies in our portfolio now that are very close to going public with IPOs. And in fact, last month, we had one of the best companies in the portfolio achieve that public status and set up its IPO, and now moving on to a great future. And if you have those shares, I was lucky enough to have some of those shares, I think the experts involved in VC Crowd think that they are going to blossom into great assets. So time will tell. The thing is, as a member, you have to do nothing but join and pay a subscription. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to take any action. You can just sit there and watch and enjoy the ride. And I've certainly enjoyed the ride I've had with VC Crowd over the last nearly 4 years. Now, historically, most companies in the portfolio do make profits. Again, that's not guaranteed. Some of them can lose. Some of them don't make profits. Some of them take longer to evolve than they would hope. But what's interesting for me is that there are no companies in the portfolio right now that you look at and think, well, they've had it. And the other thing is that from time to time, they will focus their attention on one particular company that perhaps needs a bit more help than another. And hey presto, they move forward and they move on to greater things. That is a pattern I've seen many times. I already mentioned this, but it's important to stress it again. VC Crowd has an advisory team which is fully regulated by the FSA in the UK. So the people that are involved in the trading of stocks, buying stocks, working with companies, they're all totally regulated. We just join a club and we pay a subscription to enjoy the club benefits. Now, I've mentioned that the VC Crowd advisors are a little bit special in the way they approach businesses, in that they can actually help these businesses to grow. They use their contacts to bring people into these businesses to help them grow. That makes this a bit different from a typical, well, I don't think there is a typical one, but it makes them different from just share buying clubs, for example, where it really is pin in the paper and hope for the best. So you have that extra expertise, which I think is fabulous. And whilst it is very much just a subscription-based membership, which gives you the benefits of whatever the club happen to be doing, that doesn't mean you're locked in. If you need money, you can get money because there is an internal exchange. So you and I could sell shares between us, exchange shares between us, whatever. So if you needed to, you could sell some of the shares in your portfolio to raise some cash, get some cash out to help you through maybe some unexpected extra expenses and so on. Now, here's the thing. This is why I love it. I don't have any particular skills in selecting companies that I think are going to explode and become great. I have a little bit of that skill, I think, in the crypto markets, but not in the traditional markets. And I would never attempt to tell you that I was in any way mildly expert at that. I am no Warren Buffett, sadly. If I was, I would probably be doing that every day, buying and selling shares in go-ahead companies. Warren Buffett, once famously said, "Don't buy stocks unless you think they're undervalued." Well, that's fabulous advice, and who could argue with that? But the trouble is, how do you know they're undervalued? And that's why you need experts to do this for you. So it really is, for me, a total and absolute fit for the idea of passive income. Now, as a member, the thing I value the most is the fact that our experts have the ability to spot a company that's a bit special and to spot them early enough to add that to our portfolio. And when they get it right, it's marvelous to see. It really is. And they always look to fund companies that have a better than average chance of making it big. And the way they do that is they look for exclusive products and services, growth areas, not necessarily obvious areas that you and I would think of, but things that out there in the big wide world are really booming and showing signs of great growth. So at the moment, for example, we'd all think, well, anything to do with environmental energy savings, certainly with COVID still around the world, anything to do with vaccinations and possible progression against things like that. And anything that's a bit here and now and relevant, that's what they look for. And we have a very diverse portfolio inside the club as a result of that. Now, let's be honest, you don't have to get this right all the time. If you just got it right 1 in 20 times, you'd be doing well. If you managed it 1 in 10 times, you'd be doing very well. They appear to be able to do better than that. They rarely find companies that end up losing us money, and they frequently find companies that make a profit. In terms of returns, I don't know. I've never really worked it out. If I had to guess, I'd say I've made about 25% typically over the course of my membership, which for something which I consider to be a bit stable, certainly in the current environment, I think is pretty good. So I love VC Crowd, and I love it for a whole bunch of reasons. I'll give you an example of when it goes right, how it actually works. Last month, one of the companies in our portfolio called LifeSafe Technologies went public. They had their IPO, and the value of the share at the time they go into IPO isn't really relevant. What's relevant is what happens then, because with an IPO, with a public offering, there is an influx of cash and they can really invest in pushing their company forward. And they have marvelous products in a critical area that everybody needs, and it's to do with putting out fires in your home and in business buildings and so on. And they have exceptional products that do that, and they're expanding worldwide. They've just gone into the US, by the way. So they've literally just started out there, and that's a massive market for them potentially. So if you were lucky enough to get shares in the LifeSafe Technologies company, then you could look forward to those shares becoming very, very lucrative in the future. Again, no guarantees, but holding those shares is better than not holding those shares. And if you buy them in the market, of course, well, by then the real value is gone. And LifeSafe Technologies, for people that have had the shares from the start, are already showing something like a 300% return. So that puts it in perspective. And there are other companies coming along to that stage. One that I particularly think is looking very healthy for the future is the Happy Drinks Co., and we're still getting shares in that. I'm not going to go into any more detail about them, but they're becoming huge, and they could be one of the best things that VC Crowd have ever got into. when it comes down to things to note, well, LifeSafe Technologies are just one example of how successful the VC crowd advisors can be in terms of their selection process and the way they drive the companies forward. But really what you want to know is, what's the bottom line for you? If you join this, what's in it for you? What do you get? Well, you pay a monthly subscription. That's either £78 a month or £199 a month. If you go for the bigger £199 a month, you get more shares. It's as simple as that. You get a bigger and faster growing portfolio. The real potential is hard to actually get to grips with, but obviously if you are getting shares in something that really explodes and does become the next mega company, well, you don't need anyone to explain what that's about and what it's going to do for you. You could find that one company alone completely transforms your assets as far as the future is concerned. But again, I'm sorry to keep stressing this, but there's no guarantee that you will make that sort of money. I personally haven't seen a massive exploding company yet. I think LifeSafe Technologies may well get there. I think Happy Drinks Co may well get there. But the point is, I'm quite happy with the portfolio that we hold and the fact that I'm putting something into, do you know what? Actually, this is how I look at it. To me, it's like a savings plan. I'm not allowed to probably describe it as a savings plan, but to me, it's like, what am I doing that isn't real high risk crypto based stuff? Well, I'm doing this. I put money into this and I can dip in there and take funds out pretty much whenever I want to. So that's the kind of bottom line. So just to summarize, that's VC Crowd. I think it's simple to understand. Join a club, pay a subscription, get some shares. It's exciting because you see things like LifeSafe Technologies going public, and you see that from time to time with other companies. It clearly has massive profit potential. It's flexible in that you can stop and start your subscriptions. You're not locked in for any given period of time. But to be clear, it's not like you can ask for a refund with this. Okay, you pay a monthly subscription, you get some shares. You can sell those shares internally, but you don't. There's no facility to sort of go back to them after a few months and say, "Oh, I want my money back." It doesn't quite work like that. And after you've been in it for a while, you'll understand why you wouldn't want to do that anyway, because you can make more by staying with it. So if you like, it's like being in Dragon's Den as one of the dragons, but you don't need that big pile of cash and you never know what's coming in the door. Sometimes they're really exciting and you can taste the expectation with the company they've just got involved in. And right now is a great time to get started because there are companies that are heading rapidly towards that IPO stage, and there are other companies that are starting to show real good growth and they're going to have sought after shares. So that's it. I don't want to dwell too long on this. That's VC Crowd in its simple form. There's a link below the video. Just use that to join and decide on your monthly subscription level. You don't have to decide on that immediately. You can join, do your KYC, which of course is inevitable. We all have to do that. And then you can choose your subscription level after that. And I hope to welcome you aboard as their newest member. And thank you for watching the video.